the human rights, generally if a few people are killed, the human rights organization makes such a big noise. But in this case, after 8 July, 150 people were killed in the reaction. The very first reaction was 70-80 when 200,000 people came to offer Janazah for Muzaffar Wani. And then we had the other Pele guns used, which blinded many people. So those stories were going on. Now they did not want to link I think this whole thing only to Kashmir. So they dealt with it under an umbrella of minorities. So all I can say is that we hope that this is not a cosmetic treatment, this is a serious offense, and we are also encouraging many other human rights organizations to promote this, because I think India does need, it projects itself as the largest democracy, then you must protect the rights of all the minorities. This is a basic requirement of any democratic system.
How much substance is there to the fact that they are saying that the Hindu groups that are raising money in America and sending money back to these extreme Hindu groups, like it was in the case of Islamic fundamentalism, that they are actually going to take notice of that from the Indian diaspora in the US and European countries? Is there any really teeth to this statement in the press, or is it just...
Well, reports have just come out, so let's hope it's true and it's going to continue and intensify. Let's hope.
Agha Masood Hussain.
Sir, this was a wonderful lecture on foreign policy and really very educated. Basically, my question is, you just said that the foreign policy also reflects the moral side and the economic side of the country. This is what you said, the domestic profile of the country. But the domestic profile of the country, because of the Panama leaks, has sent very bad, image and very bad, impact on foreign policy of Pakistan. See in Davos, the Prime Minister was not actually asked to deliver his lecture. So don't you think it's another bad impact on foreign policy of Pakistan because of the domestic reasons?
Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier, our domestic situation and image is improving and has improved because of our control of terrorism, number one. Number two, I think the important thing that you mentioned is that democracy in Pakistan is taking roots. You recall in 2014 there was a threat to democracy, and all the opposition parties also joined. We are not with the government, but we want to save democracy. So we had one democratic transition in 2013 when one elected government transferred power to another. I hope that will happen again by next year when one democratically elected government will transfer power to another democratically elected. So this is the more important point of our political. Democratic system by definition is noisy and dusty, but there's nothing better. And so I think these issues that you are talking about as a part of, the democratic tussles and game plan and throwing mud on the others. But the fact is that if our democratic process survives, it will emerge stronger from all this. And the test is that if all these charges are true, people will not vote accordingly. And so again, that is the best test of popularity or unpopularity. So I think let's wait for the elections and then the question will be answered.
Professor Tanveer Khalid.
Thank you, sir, for a very clear explanation of Pakistan's approaches and challenges on foreign policy. We believe that there are certain fundamentals and objectives for any state regarding its foreign policy. And one of those for Pakistan, apart from security, is good neighborliness. You have expressed Pakistan's relations with India and Afghanistan. I would just like to request or have your more candid analysis and approach towards Pakistan's relations with Iran.
Well, I think, as you must have seen from the media, the Prime Minister has been talking of peaceful neighborhood as one important policy objective in order to achieve our economic objectives. You can't really have a prosperous economy if your relation with neighbors is not good. And so that's why we reached out to India at the very beginning and tried to, Prime Minister attended Prime Minister Modi's inauguration and we were ready for a composite dialogue. But then India put conditions like not talking about Kashmir and why you meet Kashmiri leaders to scuttle that process. But we are at least standing on our principles, and because India wants to have a better relation on their terms, which means hegemonistic relationship, and we are not prepared to accept sacrifice our sovereignty and dignity. So I think that stalemate continues, but we are sticking to our principle. With Afghanistan, if you recall, in 2014 we started off very well, but then when the domestic situation became bad, they think, and we have lot of baggage from the past, so obviously they suspect that we are still helping, although we have declared that we have no favorites and we want genuine peace in Afghanistan. So I hope that this message will sink. With Iran, of course, is our close neighbor, and we have had very good and balanced relationship with them. And in fact, we have been, Prime Minister, along with the Army Chief, went to both Saudi Arabia and Iran to say that today the whole Muslim world is facing a major crisis. If you look at all the flashpoints which are in trouble today, they are in the Muslim world, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Syria, whether it's Libya, whether it's Yemen, whether it's Lebanon. It is only Muslim countries which are suffering, and many of them have sectarian dimensions, and which is not good for the Muslim world. So Pakistan, as a matter of policy, is promoting what is called unity of the Muslim Ummah, and we'll continue those efforts, because these rivalries that are happening, particularly with the global situation changing, becoming more anti-Muslim, we can meet this challenge only by becoming more united among ourselves, so that we can meet these challenges. So in that way, President Rouhani is again coming next month for the ACO summit, and we hope that we have just completed the banking agreement to resume trade, because that was suspended after the sanctions. And the TAPI pipeline also is again under the Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline is also under discussion. So I hope our relation with Iran will continue to be friendly.
अतीक साहब को दीजिए. अतीक साहब.
Sir, very well said on our foreign policies. I'm being a businessman and representing the Karachi Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and you've been the finance minister also 2 times, sir. Allow me to ask you a question that our foreign direct investment is falling down like anything. We being businessmen are really concerned of our, we are very much concerned of our trade deficits. Imports are improving and exports are declining. Then we have the current account deficits also. So these are the few questions we are very much worried about, really. Would like to have you said something on it.
Well, I think the first question that you raised, that our declining export, is a matter for worry, but the reasons are not twofold. One is that our own production has fallen because of particularly energy crisis and lack of investment. And as I think you will be, yourself witness to the fact that overall load shedding has gone down, but for industry, a special provision is made to make sure that it's provided. The other option is, of course, to make it cheaper for industry, because we have had expensive oil-based thermal power which was expensive, and that raised the cost of energy. Now all the plants that are being added are below the sale price, so our circular debt problem would not arise, and so I think in 1 or 2 years we will have either no load shedding, also no circular debt, because most of the energy will be produced at a price at which we are selling and not involving any subsidies. So this will increase our not only exportable surpluses, but the cost of production, because if you have to compete in the world, you can't have energy costs which are higher than the neighboring countries. So that is one factor. The second factor is the recession in the global markets, which have reduced the demand for imports. And there has been a secular decline in commodity prices, which has brought down prices. So even though the decline in terms of trade, which means, you know, in terms of the value that we get for whatever we export in terms of quantities, is not the same. So that is. But this year, since our growth rate picked up to 5%, exports are showing a modest improvement. Thank God this decline in export has been balanced by increase in remittances. So the overall balance of payment situation has remained okay, and therefore we have been able to manage. Our reserves are comfortable. Our exchange rate is stable for the last 3 years. It moved slightly from above 100. So I think we have no worries about the balance of payment crisis. But the important thing is that we have to now compete with the world through efficiency and through higher production. And as our growth rate picks up, our private sector has a responsibility to compete in the rest of the world through efficiency, through technology, and through trying to keeping the cost down. And with CPEC, I think we also have new industrial zones coming up. So far identified 6, could be 10 in the end, where Chinese want to relocate some of their industrial capacity here. But that doesn't mean all the industrial parks will be only Chinese. About 50% will be Chinese, the rest will have, and many other countries have shown interest in coming here. So we are at the verge of a new phase where infrastructure is improving and energy crisis is resolved, and so when these investments take place, I hope that our exports will also pick up and we'll have a better balance of payment situation.
प्रोफेसर मेहरुनिसा अली को दीजिए, पीछे बैठी.
Thank you, Masuma. Sir, one of the foreign policy challenges is our soaring foreign debts, and I think you have talked about it in your very enlightened speech. Till last year, I think our foreign debts have exceeded rupees 55 trillion. Is Pakistan on the verge of default? Would you like to enlighten us about the steps government is taking to reduce
reliance on IMF?
Yes, of course. I think about 2 weeks ago, the finance minister wrote a very long article to give the facts and figures about our debt situation. You see, borrowing money for a developing country is absolutely natural. The question is, on what terms are you borrowing? And are you spending that borrowed money in a manner which will generate revenues and exports in the future to be able to pay back those loans? These are the 2 basic criteria. So in my view, the money that we are now borrowing today from mostly Chinese sources and some others are at very favorable terms. They are not what you call commercial terms and difficult terms. So our debt profile, and we have this Fiscal Responsibility Act in which our debt servicing cannot exceed, our total debt cannot exceed 60% of our GDP. So subject to these, I don't think we were on the verge of default a few years ago. Now we are quite comfortable, and I think the way we are moving, our economy is picking up. I don't see this a major problem, but as the earlier question pointed out, we have to increase our exports at a much faster rate, and we have to take advantage of the opportunities that lie in the region, because exports are becoming much more competitive around the world. So I'm not saying that we are in a very sort of highly favorable position to go forward, but once our growth rate recovers to at least 6% for 5-7 years, I think our overall position will become even more comfortable.
जावेद जब्बार साहब को दीजिए.
Compliments Sartaaj Sahab on a very comprehensive presentation. I just am saddened by the fact that while we are conducting diplomacy in a very complex, very difficult times, there are elements and media in Pakistan who keep labeling our position as being isolated. I don't think that we are isolated. But at the same time, one is very disappointed that the government, not just the Foreign Office, the government as a whole is not investing sufficiently in public diplomacy, in media diplomacy globally to correct this terrible misperception, not just within Pakistan, but outside Pakistan. Pakistan is perceptually as a abnormal country opposed to terrorism. Do you think that the government has plans to correct this?
It is an important question, because anybody who comes to Pakistan suddenly finds that our reality is much better than the image that he had outside. So when he comes here, he has a different view. I remember Senator McCain, who came from USA recently, 2 months ago, and we took him to Miran Shah. And when he came back, his whole opinion about Pakistan at the counter-terrorism, he said, what you have achieved there is unbelievable. My whole approach to this whole thing has changed, and I like to, and he went and wrote an article as well as made statements in the Congress. So we have to, but again, you see, it's the constraint. If more people come here, they see the first hand, they will achieve. And because if you just project through the media, it doesn't achieve. But what we require is, and that is where, in answer to your question, I'll say, we are working on a proposal we have a few what you call Pakistan chairs, Iqbal chair, Quaid-e-Azam chair in 14 different universities. And we found that they were not productive in terms of producing either books or helping the image. So we are now trying to create a Pakistan National Council of Cultural Relations or Culture Cooperation with the rest of the world, which will try to open cultural centers as well as, and the chairs will also not be bureaucratically managed, but just like the Indian Council of Cultural Relations, it will have a group of people from PTV, Lok Virsa, television, the radio, all the other cultural organization who will whose cooperation will be sought. Bureaucrats are not very good in projecting, these kind of things. So if you have that group of people and they were to, so it is not just writing articles and so on. So we have a lot of many attractive sides to our history, to our traditions, to our culture, and these are properly projected, then the image of Pakistan changes. So we are emerging from a very, very difficult 20-year phase through which we have gone through the Afghan war and then 9/11. But if now we are in a position, because you can't project something which is far removed from reality. As our reality is changing, the opportunities for projecting this improved reality are also improving. So I hope people like you will participate in this effort to bring a positive image of Pakistan and promote our cultural cooperation.
Shagufta Alizai Sahib ko.
Thank you, Dr. Masuma and Sartaj Aziz Sahab. If I may, I would like to take it from where Javed Jabbar Sahab has talked about image. We are improving our economic image, but there's a social image. Everybody is not going to come to Pakistan. And I believe as part of the foreign policy or the governmental effort, a whole host of members of parliament were sent to fight for the Kashmir problem. What have they done which has changed the perception of other countries vis-a-vis what Pakistan faces regarding Kashmir and its neighbor India? Thank you.
Well, these envoys which went from Parliament were not supposed to sort of change the image of Pakistan as a whole. They were supposed to highlight the Kashmir issue and bring it to the attention of the parliamentarians across the countries where they went, and some media and some NGO. So I think that to that extent the purpose was served, but they were able to interact with many members of parliament and act with very, of course, to a varied extent. In some countries there were better reception than others. But basically, you see, we were, as I mentioned earlier, perturbed that such large-scale human rights violations in Kashmir were not being taken seriously. So these visits were meant to highlight that, and as you seen, this Commission on Rights of Minorities is coming. UN Human Rights Commission is trying to now offer to send observer, which of course Kashmir is refusing. OIC is doing the same thing. So that's a much more limited effort that we are doing. Javed Jabbar was talking of our image across the board, and that is a medium term, if not a long term project, because we are recovering from 20 years of a very difficult phase in which our image was very tarnished by the fact that we are hotbed of terrorism. As I mentioned earlier, how were those terrorists created? It was a giant effort at that time, and then Mujahideen suddenly became terrorists. So I think our region, these are what I call global fault lines, which have been traveling to us, and Pakistan suddenly became a melting pot of global fault lines. So now we are untangling them, these fault lines, and I hope that we'll be able to achieve, once the turnaround happens, then this image will also gradually start improving.
एडवर्ड साहब, आप पूछना चाहेंगे कुछ?
Sorry, my throat is really bad. Sir, I have two short questions and one request. The first is about our foreign policy. Quaid-e-Azam's vision was friendship towards all and enmity towards none. It was thrown overboard by Ghulam Muhammad and the civil servants, and we paid very heavily for that in 1971. Now, from what you have said, it seems we are going back towards the policy of friendship towards all and enmity towards one. the truth was none. I hope I'm right in understanding from what you said, because we are opening a friendship towards Russia and towards China. So my second question is about Afghanistan. So Afghanistan has always been very helpful to Pakistan. Whenever we had trouble with India, we always, what I heard from the police, what Afghanistan always said, okay, you can take the last soldier of the best things, but you will not be able to be kept up. And when the Taliban last year, they actually surrendered, and in the certain part of Pakistan, showed India that when I went to Central Asia, through Java, was a great service to Pakistan. I hope that we will keep that in mind when we are discussing the future of Pakistan. It was a great service. My suggestion is about the Pak-China trade cuts. Success of that would depend on the success of the trade between Kashgar and Kuala, not what Pakistan does. Because that has to be most important, most efficient, and up to international standards, which we can't afford, nor we have any idea of. My